Alright everybody, this is your big boy Scatter back with a brand new video. Today I'm gonna be sharing with you guys some mixing ideas. This is a beat I made some few days ago. I also did a video about it. You can check it out on my channel. We wanna mix these beats, alright? We're gonna make it sound good and make it ready for vocals to go upon it, alright? So very fast, we have some few instruments right here. We're just gonna be mixing and balancing them and making them sound good, and then we shall call it a tutorial, right? So the first thing before you start mixing, go right here into the Windows setting, turn down the volume of your PC, all right? Should be around 50, right? Just half the volume. It was playing some music right there. All right, and then you want to go right here, and you can see I was trying to reduce the volumes of these instruments right here. So you are gonna reset that so that it goes back to the originality. If you're in the studio right now, I want to give you guys some serious warning that the way I am turning up the volumes of this thing, you want to reduce the volume of your headset or your monitors, because it is about to shout. Okay, so don't say I never told you, man. So let's listen to that.
It's the beatmaster, Scatter.
Oh, all right. Now the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna make sure all these instruments are linked to a channel in the mixer. So right here, just double click, right? It highlights all of them. You go into your mixer, the first channel, right click, go to channel routing and say route selected channels from this track, all right? Or you can press Shift Control L. Simple like that. All our instruments are now linked to the channel, right? So when you're mixing a beat, you always want to find the highest parts or the highest region in the song, whereby all the instruments do play together, right? And that place is mostly usually the chorus. So this is my chorus part, so I'm gonna highlight like that, okay? And we're gonna go into the mixer channel. We're gonna go into the mixer, sorry. And then I normally like to start doing my mix. I normally start mixing the kick, and then after I mix the kick, I mix in the bass line, and then I can start adding other instruments. Okay, so we are gonna solo the kick. All right, I had some instrument right here is not linked to the channel. That is my tag. I'm gonna turn it off at the moment, and then I'm gonna go back into the mixer. Right there we have the kick. Okay, so this is what I normally do to my kicks all the time I am mixing. I pull up the fruity limiter, I go into the compressor, right? And on the threshold, on the ratio, I quickly set it to ratio 4 to 4 to 1. All right, you can see that right here, 4 to 4 to 1. Okay, and then I now start playing with the threshold to hear how the kick will sound. If it strains, I back off. If it sounds good, I go a little bit more. Okay, it should not sound awful, because the kick is the main instrument in the song. It must always be loud than any other instrument. Okay, so I'm gonna play the kick, and I'm gonna be working on the threshold as I listen to how good it sounds, and then I'm gonna stop. All right, sounds good right there. Make sure you're mixing on a low volume. Don't mix when your volume is at 100%. Don't do that, you will strain. Okay, so the kick sounds good to me right there. We don't usually do a lot on this kick. This kick sounds clear. We can pull up some EQ and look at how it sounds right here. You can see it is really clear on this high end. Just some little bit of noise right here, so I'm gonna cut it out, do the low, and just cut out. And then right here, because it's gonna be struggling with the bass, just cut out a little bit also. Do the high end, and the order we put it as step 8. Doesn't sound good. We're gonna back off a little bit. Do it around 35. Right there. Right there, it sounds good. And I'm done with the kick already. So what I'm gonna do next is balance the volume. So I normally like the volumes of my kick to be around -6. You can check out the hint bar right here, the hit panel. That is where all the volumes show. So I always love doing a quiet mix. You can do a loud mix if you wanna have a loud mix, man. So the kick is the first instrument we have just made sound good. Alright, the next thing I'm gonna do is pull out the bass line. Alright, before I do play the bass line, I'm gonna go down to the channel and go to where the kick is, and I'm gonna click right there. I've already side chained that, and then I'm gonna side chain this bass line to the kick. Alright, so after you've linked the channel, go back into the bass line, pull out another limiter, go into the compressor, right here the side chain, right click and say bass. Okay, and then you're gonna play with the threshold and the ratio until you hear the bass sounds good, right? But before you do that, turn down the volume. I normally like to have the volume of my bass line at around 18 dB, because when I master the track it sounds good. Okay, you can hear they're fighting a little bit, but we're gonna side chain that. So after we have done this, we're gonna play with the threshold and the ratio a little bit. Alright, and then after that, I'm gonna go into the bass line, pull out a fruity limiter, right? Go to the compressor, and we're also gonna compress the bass. Alright, so watch what I do. Alright, if you feel the bass has been killed too much, you can turn up the volume. Okay, but it sounds good because I'm mixing at a low volume, so right there it sounds good, man. It sounds good. Okay, now after we have done that to the bass line, we're gonna pull out a fruity limiter on the bass channel, and we're gonna see what it does right here. Alright, it is working right around here, so let's go to a kick and see why it is working also too much. Now we don't want these two instruments to fight, okay? So I am gonna cut out the kick right at this region, and then we shall boost a little bit of the bass at this region so that it stands out, okay, in the mix and they don't fight. Alright, so we are gonna go into the bass line. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy, save preset as, and I'm gonna carry it onto the bass. And right here, we're gonna do the vice versa. Okay, we're gonna do the vice versa. I think it sounds good to me right there. I'm gonna move this up so that they work together with the limiter. Nice. All right, now from there now, I now start adding we start adding the other instruments. So we have to add all the percussion, the snares, the hi-hats before we do any other instruments right here. So I'm gonna add the snare to this. No instrument should go louder than the kick, right? That's why you have seen me turning down the volume of the snare. So no instrument should go louder than the kick. It must be below, all right? The same or below. I did layer 2 snares, so I'm gonna balance both of them before I do any processing. So this one is a little bit loud. I'm gonna turn it down. Right, and I'm gonna pull up a limiter on the first snare, and I'm gonna limit it. And I don't want it to sound louder than the main snare, so I'm gonna go right here, do what we did to the bass, right? Go right here and we pull out a limiter, and we're gonna side chain that snare to this other snare so that it doesn't sound louder than the main snare. So we say right there, and we're gonna play the threshold and the ratio again. And then right here, I'm gonna pull out another limiter. Now we're gonna limit the main snare. When you're mixing this, only one secret you guys should understand. You do a lot with your limiter and the EQ, right? Leave out the other effects, the delay, the reverb, or what. Just first of all, work your mix with the limiter and the EQ. And then once your mix sounds good, now you can add other instruments there. The delay and the reverb and the flang and the blah blah blah. So let's compress this snare. I'm not gonna be doing a lot with this second limiter because I already have this other one right here. So if I do the second one a lot, I'm gonna ruin the originality of the instruments. I think it sounds good to me right there. Next, I am gonna add the hi-hat. So let us turn down the volume because it's gonna shout. So we turn down the volume and then we shall take it up till a point we feel it sounds good. I think it sounds good right there. What we are gonna do, we're gonna pull out an EQ, all right, and we are gonna EQ the hi-hat. We have to make sure that it is gonna be in the highs. Like that. And then if you feel like there's need, you can add a limiter to that, but to the hi-hat I normally don't do that unless the hi-hat is too noisy and too cruel. Okay, and then after I've done that, I remembered we didn't do any EQing to the snare, so let us do that right now. We're gonna take out this low side and just a little bit of the highs to give the kick and the bass line some space in that region, so that when the beat is playing, all of them are gonna be clear. Right, so high pass, and we're gonna go step 8 and take out. If you're not able to hear your EQ working on that snare, it is just simple. If you cannot hear the EQ working on that snare, you can simply solo that snare and listen to it. Listen to it as you EQ and then bring it back to the mix. The secret to mixing is just always about maintaining the originality of the instrument. You should not mix and have your instrument sound weird than before. If it does that, then you ain't mixing, you're just ruining that voice. So you should stop producing that song immediately. Right, let us EQ the first snare. Pull out an EQ right there. Alright, now before you start adding the other instruments, this is what I normally do. I normally come to an empty channel and I give it another name. I say percussion bass. Alright, and then I come right here and I say rename this as the channel, and I say the low bass, or you can call it a bass and snare bass, depending on how you do understand, right? And then I'm gonna take on this low bass, I'm gonna take the kick and send it right here. I'm gonna take the bass line and send it right there, okay? And then I'm gonna mute all the other instruments, go into the low bass, and I'm gonna add a limit right here to contain the level of those two instruments, okay? So you have to make sure the volume is below the volume of this low bass. You have to make sure it is almost the same with the bass line, or a little bit lower than the bass line. If it is higher than the bass line, then it is not gonna balance the two instruments, all right? So that's what I normally do, the low bass. And then after I've done that, I now put a limiter on there, and I come and play with this, the ceiling. And I just put it just slightly higher on that bass, because we are containing the volume that we have already mixed this beat at, so that at any time we shall be mastering, that volume doesn't jump, right? This will make this mix sound good when we master. So you should be able to mix in readiness for mastering, okay? Simple like that. And then the percussion bass, I'm gonna take the snare, I'm gonna link it right there, and the hi-hat, link it right there, and the other snare, link it right there. And if you have any other instrument right here, maybe a conga, or you have other 5 snares, link all of them into the percussion bass, all right? And then what you do, you come and look at the lowest volume of all those percussions. Like right here in this case, the lowest volume is my hi-hat. It is around volume 21%. So I'm gonna turn down the volume of this bass to 21%. Let me mute the bass and the kick and play this other percussion. And then what I'm also gonna do, I'm gonna grab the limiter onto that bass and play with the ceiling, and we're just gonna put it slightly higher on top of the overall volume. Like that, okay? Now we have contained the volume of our first instruments, that is the bass and the kick and the other percussion. So when you play them together, sounds cool like that, okay? Just creating a bass allows you to be able to look at how the instrument sounds before they go out of the mixer through the master, so that you can hear the final audio, okay? Like let's say, for example, if I want to look at the spectrum view of the bass and the kick, I'll come into the low bass and pull out a spectrum, a parametric EQ, and when we play, you see the spectrum view of both of them, okay? Simple like that. That is the importance of creating an EQ, right? And then another trick I want to share with you guys right now, right here on the percussion bass, all right, where you have put your snares and the hi-hats and the blah 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 blah, you can add distortion if you want, okay, or some saturation. So because I'm using flstudio and I'm using the stock plugins, I'm gonna pull out the Maximus and I'm gonna add some little bit of saturation right on the snare, and the percussion. That is enough. All right, we're gonna stop right there with the drum, bass, and the percussion. Right, we now start gonna mix in the volume of the other instruments. So the trick is this: when you're playing all these other instruments, you must be able to look at the instrument that is the highest. That is the first instrument that you are gonna begin mixing or adding into this mix, right? So in this case, this is my highest instrument, so I'm gonna turn down the volume, and then I'm gonna start mixing it in. So what you have to do is just turn out the volume. Make sure the volume doesn't go higher than the snare or higher than the kick, because you will be outside the mix and that song is gonna sound awful, man. So let us turn down the volume to a point we feel it sounds good. Sounds good right there, and it is very loud. So the first thing I'm gonna do right there is pull out the limiter. As always, we are mixing. Pull out your mixer, your limiter, and work with the threshold and the ratio to make that instrument a little bit softer and fit into the mix. I think it sounds good right there. We're gonna pull out the EQ. I'll get the EQ2 right there. So let's EQ that instrument to take away all the noise. And again, if you're not able to hear your EQ, you can mute out the instrument and EQ it when it's playing alone. Sounds good to me right there. All right, I'm gonna bring in the other instrument. I'm gonna bring in this one, is the saxophone. We're gonna bring it into the mix. When I listen to this saxophone, I can hear it has some little bit of effects on it, so I'm gonna go get it. Saxophone. saxophone. We're gonna open that plugin. It is the Purity. We're gonna go into the mixer and turn off the effects on that saxophone, all right, so that when it plays it doesn't have any effects on it, right? All right, so what I'm gonna do, the first thing is pull out the limiter. For this one, you just do a little bit of limiting. Simple like that. And then we're gonna pull out the EQ and EQ the saxophone. Can see it is not very dirty, so just do a simple EQ on it. And then I'm gonna bring in some little bit of reverb on it. And then I'm gonna add some delay on it. I'm gonna pull up the delay tree and we're gonna get the ping pong delay. Turn the volume down. You can already hear the effect on that saxophone. All right, simple like that. Next, I'm gonna bring in the next instrument. That is what I'm gonna bring in. So we're gonna go, the first thing, we're gonna take out the effect right there. Gonna take out the effect, the reverb and the chorus, and then come back to the mixer. All right, and I think the first thing I'm gonna do to this one, I'm gonna pan it to the right to open some space into the mix, and then I'm gonna turn down the volume till it sounds good. Right there, sounds good. I'm gonna solo it out, pull out the limiter. Pull out the fruity limiter. Sorry about that. Pull out the fruity limiter. Pull out the parametric EQ. And then let us listen to the instrument and the other instruments that are already mixed. Sounds good to me. Next, I'm gonna bring in the next instrument. This one is very loud, so the first thing we're gonna do is turn down the volume. So on this instrument also, I'm gonna pull out some limiter, and we're gonna play with the threshold and the ratio again. And then we're gonna pull out the EQ. Basically, mixing is about EQing and limiting, and this is what you do until the beat sounds clear. All right. And then what I'm hearing in my head is that this instrument, the chip, should be doing like tit, and then we have a delay behind right there. So I'm gonna pull out a delay. We're gonna pull out the delay too. We're gonna go to the ping pong, and then we're gonna turn down the volume. I love that. The PC power is low, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the charger. Plug in the charger right there. All right, we are back. All right. I've just realized I had two bass lines right there. So this one I am gonna go right into the bass pattern, and that is channel number 8. I'm gonna put it on channel number 10 because channel 10 is already mixed. Sounds good, sounds good. Now, after you do that, after you've mixed all instruments in the loudest part of your mix, you're now gonna play the instrument and listen to any instrument that you have not mixed, and then you're gonna take it to the mixer and mix it. So let's play. We have these snares right here that are not mixed, so we're gonna click right there and then take them to the mixer channel. That is channel number 16. We're gonna have all of them on the same channel so that they have the same processing. Okay, channel number so have your player right there. I'm going to the channel to do the first thing you do, turn down the volume. All right, so with these ones they should be almost the same volume as the snare. Right, and then the first thing we're gonna do to them is add a limiter. sounds good. And then let's look at how they sound on the EQ. It has some little bit of the low, so we're gonna take that out. They sound clean. I'm not gonna do anything on this other end. I'm gonna pull out the 40 delay to put it on the ping pong mode, and you wanna turn down the volume of the delay. They must sound good, right? So we're gonna listen again and see any other instrument that we are yet to mix, and we're gonna mix it, right? We have these instruments, the two of them I did not rename, but I got them from Purity. So we're gonna go right there where they play, and we're gonna mix them into the mix. This is the muted, so I'm gonna rename muted. Boom. So let us add it into the mix. As always, pull out your fruity limiter. I layered it with a pizzicato string. I had taken this one to the left, so I'm gonna pan this pizzicato to the left. As always, again, pull out fruity limiter. We always use the limiter to limit all the volumes so that when you master the track, they don't go above any other instrument. Now, because there are two instruments playing in the same pattern at the same time, we're gonna go into an empty channel, and we're gonna rename it and say the muted, right? Muted. Now we can give it another unique name like muted layered. And then we're gonna take the muted and the pizzicato string into that channel. We now want to apply some effects, like let's say the delay. Make sure the instruments themselves you have taken out the original effects from the instrument you are using, so that these other effects sound cool on them. Okay, so take out right there. Okay, then we're gonna turn down the delay. Like I'd said before, make sure the volume of your bass, the volume of your bass is the same volume as the lowest instrument in that bass. Okay, so we're gonna turn down this volume to this level. All right. I don't know if there's any other instrument I've not mixed into the track. This is what. This is. I'm seeing this instrument that is not. I think I didn't play this instrument, so I'm gonna turn it off. Yeah, and I think we're pretty much done with the mixing of this beat. So after you've done going through all the instruments and mixing all of them, what you wanna do, you wanna go right here, turn up the volume of your PC, and then you wanna listen to this track and see if there's any instrument that does not sound good, and then you're gonna go and work on it. Right, so let us play and listen. I think this beat sounds pretty much for me. I just need to listen to it after some hours so that my ears will be fresh, and then if there's any necessary changes I'll do, and then the beat will be ready for vocals. So that is how I normally do my mix each and every time I'm making a brand new beat, and I hope I've shared enough with you guys, and with that you can be able to do your next amazing beat and have some good sound on it. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and share this video, and also hit the red subscribe button so that you will be notified each and every time I drop a brand new video. See you later in another video.